Howdy, all! Welcome to Anime Odyssey, our once-a-month show where we pick an anime series and have some fun with it, talk about it, and sometimes we agree and sometimes we disagree, and this could be one of those disagree nights, I think. Maybe not so much as bad as Jeremy might think, but there probably is going to be some little bit of disagreement. Anyway, tonight we are going to cover Akame Got Kill, Season 1. There's only one season, and there's only going to be one season because I know why there's only going to be one season. I'll explain that as we get going deeper in. This was Jeremy's choice this month. I think the tag was action.
Action adventure.
Action adventure. So that's what we got. And we're ready to go. Before we go, let's just say hello, everybody. Jeremy, this is your choice. How are you doing today?
I am doing just fine. You know, working. Internet's back up.
Yay.
Putting together videos, figuring stuff out. But I am here, and I'm trying to figure out, can I play Conan after this?
The answer is yes, because I'm going to. The answer is yes. Even if it's not for long, the answer is yes. Mm-hmm. Anime Man, how are you today?
Hi there. How you doing? I'm doing fine. And hello, all you anime-loving guys and gals out there.
All right, guys, I just threw up a poll in the chat, those of you coming in. I wonder, do you want us to expand the kind of stuff we talk about on the show, anime articles? I had a few that I had been picked up, but I forgot to send them out. And these are kind of things I would want the guys to read, not me to have them drop on them. I want them to be prepared for the discussion. So if you want us to, once a month, talk about some topical anime stuff that came out, like announcement for something coming out or something stupid. Like I had another one that was really stupid about shipping and, oh, your shit is good, it's good, we like it. I mean, it's, yeah, you make that face because you have the same look that I do. No, shipping bad. You want to see us talk about that kind of stuff at the tail end of the episode. The bulk of the episode would be discussing show of the month. But then at the tail end, just to like wrap things up, we talk about a couple of things. And if it's topical, also, we talk about picks of the season. I haven't finished the spring season yet. I have to go. I'm halfway through everything that I'm watching. Some things aren't even done yet or close to being done. Some things got delayed because of reasons in Japan. So I'm not ready to talk about spring season, and I don't think Jeremy is either because Jeremy's busy too, and my man doesn't read subtitles easily, so we're not ready to talk about that. And for those who are wondering, I don't know who Jose is. I'm hoping Jose can still be a part of this, so we'll see about that. Either way, let's get going. And also, guys, remember, this is the live version. I thank you for being here, chat. Always glad to have you guys with us, even though we don't generally interact with you. We don't ask too many questions because it's a discussion show. Unless a super chat comes in, we're not going to break the conversation, but we're always happy to have you here. We're always happy to have your input. We always hope you enjoy the show. And if you're watching on the replay, hit that like button when I re-upload this. Help it spread the word that we just want to talk fun anime. And if you have a channel, I'm putting it out there. If you have a channel and you like anime, why don't you reach out to us? We'd love to grow the panel. So it seems we might be down a man now. So we'd like to continue to grow the panel and have more fun discussions. Okay, with that said, Akame Got Kill 2014. Dermy, why don't you introduce us to this show and tell us why you chose it as tag aside for our show this month?
So the world of Akame Got Kill is completely unjust, messed up. The rich and powerful have power and they lord it over everybody, doing whatever the heck they want to whoever they want. And it has this, I don't want to say it is a hierarchy, but I don't want to say it's like a class and serf hierarchy or a serf and
it's a political aristocracy, I would say.
Yeah.
A political aristocracy.
It's really messed up.
Oh, it's very messed up. Yeah, keep going. I'll keep my powder dry for a moment.
And the main character is a young man who's deciding that he's going to go join the Imperial Guard or become an adventurer. I can't remember what Tatsumi wanted to do at the very beginning off the top of my head.
He just wanted to join the army and make money to send back to his village.
He and 3 of his fellow friends went off to go try to make money for their suffering village, because outside of this hierarchy system, everybody else is basically poor and destitute. It is really hard to make money. It is really hard to come by this stuff.
Tripling taxes.
Yeah. And Tatsumi ends up falling into a world of assassins known as Night Raid. And it just keeps piling on and piling on and piling on. One thing you have to realize in this world is nothing is fair. Nothing you love is sacred, really. And your attachments can be fleeting. Because by main spoiler.
Oh, we're gonna spoil the hell out of this. We're not gonna. We can't really go through this episode by episode. We're just gonna wide range talk about this. So spoilers are gonna happen. Go.
Basically, everybody dies at the end. Now,
yes and no, but I'm gonna get into that. I'll get into that. Go ahead.
I didn't read the manga, so yeah,
I didn't read it either. I just did my research last night.
Yeah,
I did my research.
You because of you, I ended up looking it up, and
yeah. I'm gonna ask you. All right, Jeremy, we're gonna talk about. We try not to conflate manga and anime too much, but with the exception of after the Great General, what is it, Budo?
Great Grand General Budo.
Great General Budo. After the Great General Budo fight is when it kind of mostly goes off the rails from the manga. Granted, also they cut out an entire arc apparently.
Yeah, I discovered that, and after hearing that, it's like I kind of want to know this arc. I want to read the manga now.
With a lot of apparently, the manga's only 78 chapters of about I think 40 to 60 pages a pop, so it's not a huge manga. Only 8 volumes, not very large. And as I said, but I interrupted myself when I said that. Normally we don't conflate them, but we kind of have to right now. Well, everybody still here?
I'm here.
I think Jeremy, he's frozen. He's frozen. Well, hopefully Jeremy, you there?
Back.
You're not moving, but I hear you.
Give me a minute.
You're roboting hard. You might want to go out and come back in. Anyway, let me define something then while Jeremy's fixing his homespun internet. We try not to usually conflate manga and anime, but in this case, I feel it's one of those times where, like when we discussed Claymore, it's a relevant thing to bring up since we have an issue where the anime differs from the manga, even though the manga, from looking at the timeline, it was well enough along, and they pretty much has the same ending, save for a few key things that they left out. So clearly they had access to the source material and what was going to happen, but they chose to do things differently. So I feel it's relative to speak about it in this case. So Anime Man, this is your first time seeing this as well, correct?
Yes, sir, it is. And
what's your general take before we get into details? Well, we give Jeremy a chance to get back in here. There he goes.
All right. My thoughts on it are this. This show has more prominent character deaths than Game of Thrones, or at least as many as the Transformers 1986 movie.
Yeah, death is a natural occurrence, and a natural and often occurs. Many times it is, in retrospect, you need hindsight to really give a good detailed understanding. Sometimes you would think, why did this have to happen? But then you realize, okay, this was a plot point for something later on. Sometimes, and I'll get into this going on, sometimes I feel that a lot of the deaths were unnecessary from a storytelling perspective. I don't think need to happen. And then when you take into account the source material, they really go overboard towards the end. And I really want Jeremy to come back because it's his show and he's the one that likes it. And I need him here for this. I don't want to keep going without him here. So I will give my initial feelings on this as I give Jeremy a chance to jump back in. Let me open up Twitter to make sure he's not sending me something that he might. If Jeremy can't come back in, guys, we might postpone the show because he needs to be here for this conversation. We can't do this without him. I don't know. I didn't know what to expect going into this. I sort of knew because Jeremy said to me before we started, a lot of people are going to die. So I knew going in people were going to die. And I didn't realize it was going to start that quickly. It starts at episode 3 or 4, I believe, when Shell gets aced and that was a little upsetting for me because I had already put her in my running for best girl, but then she gets killed. so okay, and that's when I realized there will be no best girl ratings in this one because everybody gonna die. When the death started happening and other certain things started happening, I started thinking, I'm having trouble connecting because the show isn't giving me enough time to connect to these characters. And for me, liking a show for a long term requires me to find a connection to said characters. So if they keep all dying, especially when I'm starting to get to know them, it feels fleeting. And that's one of my early criticisms of the show is that it's hard to um it's hard to get deep into the world and get a feel for the world and world. I'm not saying being the characters, if your lineup keeps getting cut and cut and cut, and it was rough for me in the beginning, and I was sort of okay through most of it up until around 14, 15, when the back half begins. And I'm thinking, and I keep finding that I'm criticizing the same things over and over again. And aside from I sometimes feel the deaths were unnecessary. The repeated, not repeated, sorry. I had a problem with the world in general. I felt that the world is largely undefined. We hear all these terms thrown around, all these organizations thrown around. And in the anime, there was not a lot of time given them. Specifically, we've got the Revolutionary Army, and we don't know anything about the Revolutionary Army other than they came together to push aside this corrupt, unjust imperial government, and the Night Raid are basically the forerunners to pave the way by taking out key points and turning people to their side. That's it. We don't go ahead.
In fairness, I did notice that they didn't pay all that much attention to the Revolutionary Army for a while. Where with how incredibly tragic this universe is, I was certain that the Revolutionary Army were going to be the bad guys there for a minute.
Why?
Because with the way this universe works, it's my experience that if something seems to be too good to be true, as was proven the case in the first episode, then it probably is too good to be true. They say they're fighting to liberate the people, but they could be just as bad as the current government.
I guess if you were thinking it might go that way, but it just didn't. They turned out to be fine, as far as we know, and they were legitimate. They were not worse off. They weren't an evil organization, and they apparently were justified because the Empire was corrupt and sick and disgusting, and a lot of crap was going on. So the lack of I know the majority of the show takes place in the capital, which is a sprawling city. I felt very wanting for world building. There was no, like I said, there was no stuff on the Revolution Army. We got introduced to the major religion later on, and that ended up being, I think, more explored in the manga than the anime, where we got a taste of that, but then we got nothing. We got stuff with a bunch of tribes that never get anything done. We don't even know the name of this world. It's just the Empire. Revolutionary. So one of my criticisms is that, excuse me, trying to find a hiccup here, is that there's a lot of lack of detail to this world that, as somebody who wants a living, breathing world, I'm missing that. So I'm not connecting. And then you add in losing characters. And also, again, I didn't connect to Tatsumi at all. I didn't connect to him at all. I thought I was going to connect to Akame because it's called Akame Got Killed. But Akame really has nothing to do for most of these episodes. She's either going to be a murder machine or a little comic relief and a couple moments of emotional interaction. And if you guys can't tell, I'm really stalling. There he is. Good, he's back. I'm really
Hallelujah.
stalling while he's loading in. He's just stuck there. I'm really stalling so Jeremy can get back in here. I'm trying hard just to slow walk my
I would say this, Adam.
oh crap.
I felt that as a fair criticism, the ending kind of confused me. I know it's called Akame got killed, but this seems more like Tatsune's story. But then,
Well,
but then next thing you know,
well, here's the thing. That's not the real ending. And we're going to get into that. Jeremy needs to be here again. That's the anime ending. The manga ending is quite different with a lot of different factors going into it. So that ending was a manufactured ending, which again, same as we experienced with Claymore. That's a manufactured ending. And therefore, if it feels weird, it should feel weird. It has here's the thing. They must have had actual access to the lore and source material, because there are moments in the anime that are frame for frame in the manga. And again, I'm delaying. Jeremy was here. Now he's gone. I really want to get back in here. I have the Twitter open in case he can shoot me a line. If Jeremy shoots me a DM that he can't get back in, then we are gonna postpone the rest of the discussion maybe to tomorrow. Just because I don't want to push it off the next month, because we gotta move the train along. But Jeremy's got to be here. He needs to be here to defend the show because he really likes this show. And I think if he read the manga, he'd like the manga even better, because I think it would give him an even better feeling from what I can understand. All right, so let me go back into my criticism. As I lay out my criticisms, and then I'll run the list down to Jeremy, and we can debate it when he comes back in terms of story and character. So I feel lack of attention to detail on the world because the characters kept dying. I didn't connect to them. I have a lot of criticism in the anime. I don't know if it's like this in the manga, and I think it's a little different in the manga from my initial research last night. I feel as though Tatsumi is one of the most ineffective heroes of all time. How are you? Where are you on that?
Yeah, I do admit that he was kind of uninspiring.
Yeah, I mean, he never seems to properly progress.
Yeah, you think that
being anything, and then I think it was done a little bit differently in the manga from what I read last night, and he might have gotten a little bit of a treatment, but he never really. And again, I say this word here. He's back. Are you here for real?
I think I am. I don't know. It was like my PC just got EMP.
Okay.
What the heck just happened?
All right. You seem to be okay now. Good. I was stalling for the life of me here, trying to slow walk my early criticism, my overall criticisms. Right now, I've said this, and we can go back now since you're here. My initial criticism, we'll go with this one. First one is the lack of detail in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I feel as though I had trouble connecting because all we had was the capital, and it's just called the Empire. It has no name. We don't know the name of this world. And I was explaining, perfect example is we know about the Revolutionary Army.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the anime goes, we know next to nothing. Other than they came together, and Night Raid are their forerunners to pave the way and make it easier for the invasion to happen. Other than that, we never get any time with them. We don't know their leadership. We don't know anything. By the end of it seems like Najenda, is that pronounce her name? I forget how to pronounce her name. Najenda. Thank you. Najenda is in clearly a larger leadership role by the end, as she says at the final, and that she's going to help craft the new government with what's left of her life after sacrificing Susanoo. But how do you feel about? I mean, Jeremy, this is your show. You really like this show, and I think if you choose to read the manga, you're probably going to like the manga even better.
Mm-hmm.
As I look at it, and that's really going to be your go-to as the actual source material. How do you feel about the world building in this show? I mean, I had trouble connecting. You clearly didn't have trouble connecting.
The world building, I do think, is lacking in a sense. But what I like about this show is the characters. Okay. I am very character driven.
Yeah.
I like a strong set of characters, and that's what I got from this. I got very strong, charismatic characters. Even on the villain side,
Oh my
the
god.
Jaegers.
Oh my god. I'll get to the. Let's go with the heroes first. We're talking about characters.
Mhm.
Then I have so much to say about the villains. I have so much to say. All right, so the heroes. I was just talking about this again, stalling to get back in. I find Tatsumi to be one of the most underwhelming protagonists I've ever encountered in terms of his progression.
Mhm.
I feel like, and to use the show's terminology, even though I feel the dubbing was a little bit iffy on the writing, I think they should have chosen their words better. But to use the show's term, his leveling up seemed very inconsistent, and he never gets a real win. It's always kind of half in there, sort of being rescued, and he sort of is getting together again, but then he just never really has, in my opinion, a superhero moment. I mean, he saves mine twice, but and as you know now, spoilers, mine doesn't die in the manga.
Yeah.
She goes into a coma and then is catatonic. And their relationship is an actual real thing in the manga, not just teased in the anime. It looks like they went far deeper, where as far as they actually screwed, and he knocks her up. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to read this manga.
I read the last I read the last chapter last night because that to me was going to tell me really if anything was different. And then, oh boy, did I see different stuff. Yeah, he knocks her up. They had after he escapes from Estet the last time and was stressing over that. Apparently, we didn't see it happen, but it's alluded to, and we found out later. She was working up the courage to go comfort him, and she comforted him all right. And he knocked her up.
I will say this. Mine had the potential to be. I think the term is a real potential. Sundere is Sundera. I think
she's
Sundera. Thank you.
She. Every archetype girl character is in this show. Every single archetype, and she is your Sundere. And yeah, she's totally your Sundere character. I was sitting there as we got started. I'm like, okay, here's that one, here's that one, here's that one, and she's even got the twin tails. She even had the twin tails, which is the hallmark of your Sundere, your classic Sundere character. But yeah, so they actually do get together, and also Tatsumi doesn't die at the end because of the transformation. So we'll get back to that towards the end. So Tatsumi, I just feel like he never really got to shine. The story didn't really let him shine enough for me.
I think because the whole point is Tatsumi is thrusted into this world kind of not really by choice. He chooses to do it, but he's not doing it for the same reason they chose to do it. He's doing it more because he has nothing else. So that's where, Tatsumi's your main character, but he's kind of like a side character that you're watching the whole time. Even though you're viewing a lot of the stuff through him, especially in the anime, the final battle isn't Tatsumi fighting.
Yeah.
It's Akame.
Which is true to the manga. The final battle of the manga is, but events are slightly, they changed events. And it's dramatic. It's very, very dramatic in terms of the changes. Quick question. Yeah, JB, there technically is a season 2. There is a sequel to this. But they can't do it with the changes they made to the anime. With the changes they made, they cannot do it with the changes they made. Two specific changes, but two specific changes reason. We'll get to that at the very end here, and I'll explain why they can't do it. It's a specific anime. Akame is directly involved in it. It's got a new heroine, but she's directly involved in it, and a lot of other, from what I was just glancing over it last night, and a lot of references to what's going on. But her purpose involves 2 major things that didn't happen in the anime. So that's why it's there. There's a sequel manga still going, I think. But it's not, they can't do it. All right, go ahead.
A lot of characters in from what I learned, a lot of characters in the show don't die in the manga. Yeah. But a lot of characters in the manga don't die in the show. So
yeah. I mean, from what I basically taking out the arc that they didn't do, right after the Great General fight is when it goes completely off the rails because mine doesn't die. Right before that, the last of the 4 Rakshasa, she doesn't die. I mean, you don't actually see her get crushed by the boulder when Tatsumi brings down the ruins on her. So I think that's probably accurate, but she doesn't die. Karame doesn't die.
Mm-hmm.
Wave saves her in the manga. And clearly there's something going on there, but the anime doesn't spend time on that. So there's only maybe 2 episodes delivered to that.
It's subtle, but you can see it kind of developing.
But it's not enough time given where they run away together at the end of the manga. They disappear.
That gets into talking about the villains. I will say this: the heroes and the villains are kind of counterparts of each other.
A little bit, but I'll get it. The villains drove me nuts, but let's first go there. So
I actually agree. I actually find myself in agreement with Dermy on this. There was a very big philosophical difference between the Jaegers and the Night Raid, especially with certain characters.
I was frustrated with some of the Jaegers just because of, like you said, their principles, and they seemed intelligent. All right, I'll say it right now. The Jaegers, as a whole, some of the Jaegers bother me. First of all, Seiryu bothered the hell out of me. I hate that type of character archetype because I want to choke them. They drive me crazy.
That's the point.
I know it's the point, but sometimes they're not supposed to learn, but she's completely blind to the fact that her heroes were psychopaths. Maybe because she was a psychopath, but she drove me crazy. I couldn't stand her. And I guess that's part of the reason why I couldn't stand her. I hated her from the moment I saw her, even before we learned she was nuts.
That's the point.
I know it's the point. I know it's the point. But I want to love to hate somebody, and I don't even love hating her. That's the problem. I don't love hating her. It's here. If I had to hear her yell "justice" one more time in evil, purge the evil, I was gonna scream. It's like, no, die.
I would say this about Seiryu. She reminds me of a couple of very old adages. The first one is seen at the beginning of Baldur's Gate from Friedrich Nietzsche. Those who fight the monster should see that they do not become one. For when you gaze into the abyss gazes into you. And the second one is a quote from Dostoevsky. A fanatic is someone who redoubles their efforts while losing sight of their original goals. And Seiryu, she gives me the impression of being somebody who is so hell-bent on their desire for quote-unquote justice, which in this case is rather subjective, that she's either unable or unwilling to see that she is the very monster she claims to hate.
She was always the monster. From the moment we saw her, she was always the monster.
You're right. But
evolve.
You're right. But what Anime Man's pointing out, like, she's always the monster, but she's been fighting that monster so long out there, she failed to realize that she's a monster herself. That's why she's so unlikable. Yeah,
and my problem is that I usually love to hate a crazy villain. I enjoy hating them because, like, oh, I hate you. You're so good. Maybe it was the way she was portrayed, her flip flop.
I don't like the voice actor. I'll say that.
Oh yeah, a lot of the English voice actors were not good. They didn't deliver very good performances. Some of them did, some of them didn't. She was one of them. Her tone was just from everything about her. It's just I want to love to hate the crazies, and I was just annoyed by her massively.
Well, that's why it's so beautiful at the end of her life when it's bye. So
yeah,
long.
I know it's bye, but she's.
I think wanted she's the one character that when she left, I was happy because I hated her so much.
Yeah, but she still felt like she won, though. That's what pissed me off. It's like, I'm gonna kill everybody around me with the bomb in my head. Yay! No, you lost. Accept your loss. No, I'm gonna suicide my bomb way out of this. And it's just, so if she's the over top example of the frustration. But my frustration with the Jaegers comes from guys like Wave and a couple others who are clearly sane and not crazy and have logical reasoning. And Wave in particular, maybe again, this is an anime thing and not a manga thing. Maybe it's a little more well-developed in the manga. Wave is a legitimate good guy. He's a legitimate good dude.
I could definitely agree with.
He's doing this. He wants to do a good job. but he seems completely blind to the fact that his so-called friends in the Jaegers are psychopaths and insane.
Wait, this goes back to the counterpart part. Wave is the counterpart to Tatsumi.
Obviously,
Tatsumi and Wave are
the armor.
Yeah, the armor. They're essentially just mirror forms of each other. Where I honestly thought Tatsumi was going to get with Akame when the first time I saw this. I didn't see
that's the traditional thing. First girl or second main male protagonist gets together with main female protagonist. That's generally how it goes. I mean,
but like you can see the counterparts, and when it comes to Wave, he has same idea. It becomes like the quest for ideas in a struggling country. What do you want to reform versus revolution is what it ultimately comes down to, because there's the teacher guy talks about how he wants to reform from within. He hates what they're doing, but he knows he doesn't want to see everybody else suffer and cause a violent revolution.
That I can actually agree with. The teacher member of the Jaegers, it surprised me that he's actually likable as is Wave, though. From the way I saw things, I was thinking that even when we were getting towards the end of the anime, it looked to me like Wave and the teacher guy they were starting to doubt on whether changing the empire from within was actually feasible. I know everybody wants to change.
He knew it was done. He knew Wing knew it was done, but he still was locked into it. And Wave, I think Wave was oblivious. He just didn't
I think it goes down to principles and what they believe in. I think that's what it ultimately comes down to.
Being the good soldier, but same with the great general Blundo, whatever. I can't get it right in my head. Bluto. He's a guy talking.
I say it, and it's like you're choosing not to say the right words.
I just hear
you said Bluto. Must resist Popeye reference.
He is taught when we finally get introduced to him. He's all about we protected this. My family's protected this empire for 1,000 years, and he clearly has disdain for Minister Honest and everybody around him, and disdain for the politics. And he can see that it's all wrong, but he's still going to support it. And that kind of hit me as just like, you seem like an intelligent dude.
He cares about the empire. That's why he cares about the empire. It's standing.
But the empire was done. It was broken, and he knew it.
Again, it goes to ideals and questions of that. That's one of the reasons why I like Akame Got Kill, is because it deals with obviously you shouldn't be doing this, but your ideals are driving you to do it. It's one of the reasons why I'm not. Idealism is kind of bad.
Well, I mean, I feel like for me, again, I feel like the characters who have these positions, and again, maybe it's an anime thing, we maybe get more in the manga, that given time and a good story, you're growing, you change. And you have that, and I just didn't see that. Everything just to me felt surface level, and they're locked into that one perspective. And the only one that had an alternating perspective was Tatsumi. He was the only one that was allowed to change his views on things. Everybody else seemed locked into their one way. Or I take that back. What's her name? Chelsea. She started to change, and as soon as she did, she got killed.
Exactly.
And mine started to change, and if we go with the lore route, as soon as she was ready to do that, tragedy strikes, and she's in a coma and then catatonic. In the anime, then she dies and has a bittersweet kiss before she's dead. And I'm just thinking, and that was just frustrating me, because that's my storyteller's instinct saying, this didn't seem right. To have her die in his arms like that, something didn't seem right about it. And then to go find out that I was right. It didn't seem right, because at that point, up to that point, I was calling this show the subversion machine, because this show seems to me to set out to subvert all the classic anime tropes. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah. I mean, and
it's not subverting it in the style that we get subversion.
No. When we talk subversion, it's just the hero's not going to be there to save the hero. We're not going to get a save the day moment. Someone's not going to get saved at the last minute. When Shell got eaten by Kuro, And I was while you were gone, Durham, I said at that point I was starting to make my best girl list, and she was at the top, and then she died. And then I was like, oh, okay. That's not gonna happen. I don't think I'm gonna be making a best girl list in this show. I realized shortly after that, okay, this show is gonna subvert a lot of the tropes, and it did. No heroes every day. Our main hero is not gonna really level up to superhero standards. I'm gonna take on the big bad standards. Where we're another one. I want to get to this in a second. I want to talk about S Death in a moment. I really want to talk about S Death. I do like S Death for a lot of reasons.
A lot of reasons.
A lot of reasons.
Oh yes.
We didn't get a lot of the classic things. We didn't get classic romance. Our perfect example. I forgot her name again. Najenda. She was.
Najenda.
I can't. Najenda. It's just, I only watched this once. I don't have the names down except for Tatsumi.
I've watched it like 3 times. I'm awful with names, and I'm doing better than you.
Well, if I watched it twice, I'd probably be better at it. Najenda. One of those rare times where the leader of the organization is weaker than everybody else there.
Mm-hmm.
So that little trope was subverted.
Well, I don't know if she's technically weaker. She has respect, but also at the same time, like you see in flashbacks, she used to use pumpkin.
I missed that.
She used to use pumpkin, and she has Sue.
Well, the reason she has to use Sue is because I give credit. This was a bit of just giving us the understanding, and I figured it out before she said it. She's the way she is because S Death kicked her ass at one point horribly. And that's so she can't handle an imperial arms, or as they call them, a Teiju or an imperial relic, depending on what version you're looking at here. We'll just say arms because that was what was in the dub. She can't use imperial arms.
Character ever and should have won.
But Sue was. I feel like they powered him up only to have him gimp out against S Death when he confronted her. And I want to get to S Death in a minute. Again, what S Death represents also something frustrating in this. That I feel they subverted it, and I feel it was an incorrect subversion. Let me finish that. So they did all that stuff, and I was okay with it up until Mine died in the anime. Because I feel, okay, everything Tatsumi inherited his arms from Budo. It was Budo, Budo.
No, it was oh god. I don't remember his name. I know who you're talking about.
Well, he was gay. We know that. Good.
He was gay.
Representation.
Hold on just a minute. I'll find him.
Budo. Anyway, bro. Would you say bro? Pompadour.
Yeah, Bulat.
Bulat. Thank you, Bulat. Yeah. He inherited his arms from Bulat. I was hoping. I knew he was getting an arms. I was hoping he would find one or get one, and he bound it, not inherit one. Now, in the manga, they subverted the trope in the anime, but not in the manga. In the manga, he evolves his arms. What's it called again? Astaris.
You're close. I can't think of it off the top of my head right now.
He evolves the armor one. And I kept thinking, how is he not growing strong with this thing? It looks like there's the potential for it to evolve, but the anime doesn't do it until the penultimate episode. Apparently, in the manga, he does it once, and the version we see in the final battle is supposed to be the second version called Tyrant. So they do it in the manga. They don't subvert it in the manga. They do let the armor evolve around him and change and make him stronger. So they did. But I was okay with the subversion up until Mine died, and after that, it all goes.
Here we go.
I was just being impatient because I'm thinking, okay, that person's going to die.
Oh,
that one's going to die. That one's going to die.
The name of the armor is Incursio.
Incursio. I was close. Incursio.
I just figured it out right before Anime Man said it, but I knew he was going to say it.
So I was over that, and the subversion aspect of it, again, I was okay with it. It's just when it went off the rails after Mine died, and that's when this takes a drastic change. And I think the show could have been saved for me as something I could rewatch one day if it hadn't altered from that point forward. I mean,
I think I'll have to read the manga. I think I'll still go back and watch this anime because I like character-driven stuff. I don't mind the subversion, and
I didn't mind it until I realized it was breaking the story. At that moment, when Mine dies, it literally does break the story because it's breaking the lore, and that's why it doesn't feel right from that point forward. And now I know why my instincts were right. I didn't feel comfortable from that point forward because I was just not enjoying it anymore from that point forward.
I will say that the episode's called all the episodes are called Kill Insert
So-and-so.
Something Here.
Yeah.
Kill Sister, I think, is the weakest episode besides the very final episode.
I think it's weak because they didn't tell the real story. Because Karami survives. Because in that one, Wave in the manga, Wave does show up to save her, and we know that Tatsumi was there to keep the fight alive, but they do save her. And she's alive. She doesn't die.
I will say, I wish, if this goes back to the world building, I do wish they would have built more on like, hey, what was this program Akame and you just said her name, the sister. What was this program Kurame went through? What did Kurame get injected with? Why did she go berserk when she was stabbed in the back of her neck?
When Chelsea tried to get the kill shot on her, what triggered that berserk reaction? I mean, they don't go in there. We know that there's this drug that everybody has on the Imperial side. They're injecting themselves with. We don't know anything about that drug. We don't know. There's clearly a lot of chemical shit going on there. We don't know anything about it.
Minister Honest's son uses the chemical stuff.
He used it.
Although,
Minister Honest, we know he's bad. And I think in the manga, he had some sort of master plan, but whatever his master plan was never really revealed in the anime.
I think his in the anime, from all I can tell, his master plan was just to keep power.
Yeah, but I
would add something to this, having watched the anime, that, well, Minister Honest, may he rot in hell for all eternity. Yeah. He gave me the impression of somebody who was so hell-bent on power that he was willing to watch his own country burn.
I don't think that's it.
I don't think it's that.
According to the manga, when the ultimate Imperial arms, the super one, the giant Gundam, burst out of the palace, apparently they didn't say this in the anime. He purposefully jimmied with it so that it would malfunction. So that the child emperor, he meddled with it. He broke it so that it wouldn't work right, and it would go out of control in the manga. We didn't get that in the anime because something. Why was he continuing to neg the child emperor on? We don't get that. And then what was his master plan to eliminate the bloodline and to destroy that? Because I'm guessing, I'd have to read the manga. Jeremy, you may one day confirm this for me when you go around and read it. To eliminate the Imperial bloodline, because only the Imperial bloodline could access the giant Gundam. I'm just going to call it the giant Gundam. The giant Gundam.
Best name. That's all we're going to call it.
Only Gundam. The Imperial bloodline could access that. He could never do it. So it would make sense to me that part of his plan was to get to a point where he would goad the child emperor into using it, but then he, what's the word? I can't find the word suddenly.
Sabotage.
Sabotage. Thank you. Sabotage. He sabotaged it, and with the purpose of eliminating that once and for all, so that kind of trump card could never be available to anybody, and then he would take over in the ruins. I feel like that was his end game, but it isn't addressed in the anime. All we ever do is see him eating food. Eating.
Now I have to read the manga. You're ruining an anime that I actually like.
I'm simply asking questions because I'm only doing this because it's not a case like with Claymore when we discussed Claymore a few months ago, where the anime ended 2 years before the manga was done, so it didn't have source material. But the fact that I can
Full Metal
Alchemist, which again ended long before the manga was done. But this one, if you look at the manga and the anime, like with Leone's death scene and other moments, there are literal frame for frame moments that are in the conclusion and in the manga. And the manga, I don't think the manga was done yet but there are frame for frame moments. So somebody was giving them the information of how these scenes should look, so they knew where it was going.
If I might put something in, now I'm not sure if this is part of the manga, as I've never read it, but I will say that, well, the final fate of Minister Honest, I felt was, in my opinion at least, very, very satisfying.
It's better in the manga.
Watching Leona beat his head to a bloody pulp.
Yeah, the only better in the manga.
The only thing, the only beatdown that I think was better was, say, when Monkey D. Luffy beat the living tar out of Crocodile.
She only partially beats him up. And of course, Leone got shafted. Apparently in the manga, she doesn't die from bullet wounds. She dies because she uses 2 relics at the same time in the manga. And that's what
wow.
I don't like that. That would have been a better death. And at the same time, I hate where she ended up dying.
But she dies in the exact same place in the manga. She does die in the manga, same place, in an alley, in that same exact position, bleeding out. But what she does in the manga is after she beats him up, she throws him out to the crowd, and the crowd disembowels him.
I heard about that one. That
would have been far more satisfying.
Than what we got, because it was satisfying to see Leona do it, but at the same time, it felt like, could we have done something else?
Yeah, I mean, and so she got shafted of her moment there because he doesn't kill her. She sacrifices herself by using 2 arms at once for some reason. I don't know. I just found it out there because her design was drastically different in theirs, and that's apparently why. So there was that. Granted, we're talking about the ending here because that's what we're talking about. And the final battle between Esdeath and Akame is almost right. But I want to talk about Esdeath before we get into this. Esdeath is a great character.
Fantastic character.
Fantastic, but she's got beautiful gravity-defying tits, and I love that.
She has a body that you want to get near, but a personality you want to stay as far away from.
If I was Tatsumi, dude, you take one for the freaking team. You take one for the team.
I would say this.
Yes. Let me take one for the team.
Let me add something to this. Let me offer up you some lyrics from a song by Daryl Hall and John Oates. She's deadly, man. She could really rip your world apart. Mind over matter. Oh, her beauty is there, but a beast is in her heart.
I don't care if you're running away anyway. You take one for the team. You're getting out of there anyway. You do it.
No.
Yes.
You saw what she did to punish people. You saw what she did to torture people. She
is
thirsty. She is thirsty, and that's all she wants to do.
I would say, F this S, I'm out. This lady is completely, absolutely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
No, you're planning on escaping anyway. You're planning on escaping anyway. You're not. It's not. You're not going to stay with that, but it's right there, and she's thirsty for it.
You
go? Okay, I will do my duty as a man, and I will satisfy this. That's what you do. You don't run away.
She looks like she's into some serious kinky stuff, that the BDSM to the max level.
But
stuff.
she was no. On the first night after the shower scene, she was ready for a meat and potatoes fun. She was not going in the direction of crazy shit. She just wanted some meat and potatoes action.
No,
we do know.
Know. Yes,
and then on the beach, she was ready for meat and potatoes action.
She was ready for it. That doesn't mean that while in the middle of it, she's not going to start beating you up or doing something like that, saying harder.
This woman gives me the impression of somebody who would happily slit your throat and be smiling as she did it.
No.
That's
There's
the kind
enough
of person
evidence
she is.
in both the anime and the manga that she would not have hurt him. That she wouldn't have slit his throat or anything. Literally, that's why she's an interesting and good character, because she's a great dichotomy of a pure-blooded murder machine, but at the same time dealing with awakening feelings of natural emotion in her.
Oh, she's straight up
more like obsession.
But she was in love with Tatsumi, both in the manga and the anime. She literally was in the anime. Yes, she was. The evidence is all there, and in the manga, it's even more there that she doesn't. Her final regret. In the manga, her final statements is that her major regret is that she never earned his love in her dying moments.
I would counter that argument. with someone like that, there would be more like obsession, and that person could mistake it for love.
Show me the
I'm-
obsession. So yeah, I mean,
the
give me
constant hunt for
yes,
Tatsumi.
but
the
then
constant
the constant
quest.
hunt,
the constant hugging,
but
the desire to never let him. The way she keeps saying she never let him go.
But no, you look at her dialogue with it. There is actual emotion there. It's not obsession. It's not understanding because she was raised in such an effed up manner. All she understands is the hunt, and therefore that's how it translated. So I wouldn't call it legitimate obsession. I call it that's the only way it translates in her effed up brain. And she really did love him, and it's in a messed up way, but she did love him. And she, in the moment where she's saying, "I will be the one to execute you. I will execute you, and I'm not going to hurt you." And when she visits him in the jail cell, that's a real hug of emotion there. That's a real "I love you" hug. Even though my love is a little twisted in terms of how I perceive love, I do love you. And it was, I say her love was real, and I don't think it was crazy. It was warped because of how she was raised and how her perception of the world. I see it was there. I see it there, and in the manga, it's apparently done even better. It's given more context, even in the
All
manga.
I hear is that
I respect your opinion, but I'm going to have to disagree.
Well, all you've given me is the obsession evidence. I need more evidence for you to even challenge my thought.
all I hear is that Adam's perfectly fine getting pegged by a ice dildo.
What? No. Where did pegging come into play with this? I'm sorry.
This is Esdeath. This is Esdeath. This is some psycho woman. She would probably do it because that's what she wants to do. That's why I don't want to go near her with a 10-foot pole.
Likewise.
See, you're just adding in your research purposes to this now. Okay, that's what you're doing. you're just adding in the shit you've looked at into this. It's framing your opinion. I'm going on what the show tells me, and I don't see a pegging nature there. Maybe now I'll give you there could have been BDSM in the future, because at one point when he pushed her, it's like, "Oh, I didn't know you were into that," and she would be down for it. But I still, you haven't convinced me otherwise. I give me evidence. Give me evidence besides just the crazy. I mean, I'm going off the dialogue. I'm going off the moments, the emotional moments, when they're trapped on the island together, where it's a genuine connection going on there. May not have been going down a legitimate, healthy path, but there was a general connection going on there. But that doesn't change the fact that, no, I'm not going to argue that she isn't a stone cold killer, and that her whole concept of survival of the fittest shapes her entire being, and it's good. But that makes her a good character. Now, my problem with Esdeath is not so much Esdeath, but what Esdeath represents in the show as this towering force of nature. And up until the final battle, when Akame uses her trump card, which is the same in the manga, it's the same exact thing in the manga, but same trump card.
I'm willing to bet they explain what the trump card is and what it actually does in the manga.
They do, and they also explain that it causes her immense pain in the manga. She's Akame is in pain. Even when it's over, she remains in pain. That's part of her purpose for going on an adventure after the original story. She's going to look for a way to repair. Oh, did I just spoil that? Yeah, Murasame breaks during the fight with Esdeath in the manga.
I learned that. And
so she's locked into the trump card. So she needs to find a way to repair Murasame so she can turn the trump card off and not be in pain anymore. At least I think that's how I understood how. I know that she's in pain, and repairing Murasame do that. Anyway, but one of the things that I felt was missing from this show, and again, that's part of the subversion trope, was a legitimate force of nature to counter Esdeath at some point. Because whenever Esdeath is in the picture, it's, oh shit, no one's going to actually fight her because they're going to die. That's why we're never going to get an Esdeath fight till the very end. Everything, or Susanoo, when he went at her, that should have been a better fight. With when he went into his trump card, his transformation, when we first saw him, like, oh shit, he's going to go up against Esdeath, and it's going to be a knockdown, drag-out fight. No, they took that away from us. That should have been a better fight in that form. Mm-hmm. We needed a force of nature battle. Someone existing in that world to counter Esdeath, and then Esdeath beating that person would then make her the apex predator, the true apex predator. That's what was missing for me. Another towering force to counter her on the opposite side.
I think that might have been what Susanoo was supposed to be. And I get it. I wish the battle we could have gotten like a whole episode of just them fighting.
But,
I would have wanted that.
And
but Susanoo, they established Susanoo as being strong enough to take out an S-class danger beast in his trump card form. That's why I think.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say there. While you bring this up, I will say the animation of the show is beautiful.
Oh, it's so beautiful
because they give you
it's fantastic.
They don't skimp on any movement. You get actual unique combat. It's not repeated motions or a still motion cutting into a slash. You get actual exchanges in combat, and to me, that's one of those things that puts a show in a good category when you get the actual combat animation. So I give the show a lot of points for that. But I really wanted that other force of nature in the world to on the opposite end to Esdeath to say, yeah, here's your counterbalance. Here's the person that gives you pause and that you have to overcome to be the apex predator, to be the big bad, because she does end up being the big bad. And as I said, the fight between Akame and her is literally the same, with the exception that the way it ends are slightly different. Murasame breaks. Akame steals Esdeath's sword and infuses the mark of death into her sword to stab her, rather than stabbing her with Murasame. And Esdeath is a little more, I believe in the manga, she's a little more introspective on her way out, and her cut, and she didn't lose her arm; she's lost her hand in the fight. She didn't lose her whole arm because then the fourth Rakshasa general, or fourth Rakshasa who did survive, who was obsessed with her, who we get a taste of that for a second, apparently steals the hand and runs away with it at the end of the show.
Wow!
And makes out with it and does weird shit with it and disappears. Never seen from again. But so that fight is a little more brutal in the manga, and a lot in the exchange different. But then also one other thing, Esdeath doesn't do the creepy thing of killing herself along with, or taking herself out along with what's his name's body. Tatsumi's body, because Tatsumi lives. Because what happened in the manga, yes, he did sacrifice himself to stop the giant Gundam from falling on the people by transforming into the final version of Incursio's armor form called Tyrant, which is like a dragon form. But
I think it's because it's from the armor was made from Tyrant.
Yeah, well, no, but in the manga, that he had one transformation, but he transformed it into a full version of it in the manga to do it. But in the manga, the dragon's essence sacrifices itself to keep him alive, and so he doesn't die. But he's trapped in the dragon form. He can't return to human form, but he is alive. And at the end, there's a panel where he goes to visit Catatonic Mine, and his presence snaps her out of it, and they go off to live together, and they have children and a family. They live happily ever after. So when I go back to what I said earlier, up until Mine dying, I was okay with this being the show of subversion. But after Mine dies, I felt it went wrong, because then apparently in the manga, it stops subverting. It goes to delivering some classic anime themes and tropes and moments to give you the conclusion. I mean, yeah, everybody else that died at the end still kind of died. You know, Lubbock still died. A bunch of other people still died. But like we said, the Kurame incident goes differently. Mine goes differently. Tatsumi is alive. Esdeath still. I would say Exdeath from Final Fantasy V for some reason. I keep wanting to say that. Esdeath still dies, but the fight is different. And now Akame's goal, as we move into the sequel manga, I think it's called. I think I had it here. Let me go. No, let me go back. Hang on, let me get it out. Something got crush. It's called. Let me go.
Akame got crush, probably.
No. It's called something completely different. It's called Hinawa got crush, because the new character is Hinawa. And from Akame goes to another nation. She goes traveling to one fix Murasame so that she can get rid of her pain, and to find a cure to return Tatsumi back to human form. So you see, Hinawa Got Crushed exists, but they will never make it because unless they do a remake of the anime, which would not be unheard of, but considering it's only 7 years old, I don't know if they do it. It's still a little fresh because it was 2014.
Mm-hmm.
If they did a remake and stuck to the source material, including the arc they cut out, then they could do it. But as it stands now, there could be no season 2 because they got rid of one of her primary motivations to go out there. Because in the anime,
they got to get rid of both.
They did. Murasame's not broken. She's in the final moment of the anime. She's just out there roaming the wastelands, killing people that need killing.
And they kind of hinted, because I didn't know the changes in the manga and all that. I still like the anime, but
it's fine. Yeah, it's fine
because of how it finally wraps up. It's like, hey, everything's done. Nothing else is going to happen. These guys will never be remembered. The story's done.
No, but in the manga, they will be remembered. Because Najenda, did I say it right? Najenda. She goes on to help build the government. She's not forgotten. Mine and Tatsumi they go back to Tatsumi's village and they live there happily with a family. Now, Wave and Kurumi, they disappear. They vanish. And Leone does die in the alley, which sucks, but that did happen. But it wasn't a complete wipeout of Night Raid. It wasn't a complete wipeout. It wasn't just 2 left standing. There are 4 left standing. I don't know.
Well, I would say in the anime it's 1.5 left standing because Najida specifically says
she's on shortened lifespan.
Yeah, she doesn't see herself living past, I think, 35.
Ouch.
Yeah, she's in her late 20s. Which means Esdeath was in her early 20s.
Just like what happened to John Sheridan.
But it's listen, as an overall show, it's not bad. It's well constructed and it stays on the rails for the most part. And as I said, I wasn't pissed off about Subversion. I see where we're going. It's just when I realized that something was wrong and then researched that it was broken from the manga, there was potential unfulfilled, I think, with this.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's potential unfulfilled.
Yeah, because
that I can definitely agree on.
You get Wing Guy. In the manga, supposedly he dies and becomes a puppet for Kurame.
Really?
That would be something.
Wow, that's a major change. That's a major change.
That's a major change.
That's a major change.
Actually.
And what about the religious cult? I think the religion plays a larger role towards the end too. We tease them for a second, we meet the leader for a second, and then boom. I mean, also one thing in the anime too, when they're at one point Leone and a couple others are up against Wave and somebody else, and there's a fight there, and then suddenly next episode, what happened in that fight? How did you disengage from that fight? It's just what happened there. I feel here's what I feel as we're past an hour, so and I think we've said a lot of what we wanted to say here. I feel like the anime was rushed.
I could agree with that.
It feels rushed to me. It feels rushed to me. It feels rushed. It feels, as I said, there was potential to tell the real story, and they chose to just do the 24 episodes. And granted, this is 2014. This is before a lot of the anime production companies started to realize, hey, we can get away with putting out a 12-episode season covering X amount of material without having to relegate ourselves to filler. And then we can just wait. And a couple years later, we'll come out with the next season, the next part, and we'll just keep doing that till it's over. The fans seem happy with that. They seem more pleased to get the real story rather than an anime adaptation. I think this represents the tail end of that belief of, oh, let's just give our anime version and leave the manga people to the manga people, the manga to the manga people. I think that's what this show represents in the end, is that the end of that era where we're just going to adapt an anime, manga be damned. Manga source material be damned. And I'm glad that era is over. I like the era we live in now, where I might get 12 or 13 episodes and I might have to wait a year or two, but I'm going to get this. I'm still going to get the whole story I want to see. Maybe a movie in between.
I wish we could combine them because I miss the longer seasons. I do.
Well, I'm okay with it because then I just go back and watch everything and I get my nice long season.
I just don't like being done in like 2 months with a show or a few months with a show and then like
I agree.
Okay.
But in some cases, they either need to catch up to the source material. Some cases they need to, or they need to see if there's enough of an interest to actually keep adapting it. Perfect example, Overlord. Perfect example is a Wrong to Pick with Girls in a Dungeon. Jujutsu Kaisen, Black Clover. All these things needed time. Well, Black Clover, maybe not. They just kept going. They put a lot of filler in that to push it out as far as they could. And I don't even know if the new movie is canonical right now. I know
not.
It's not.
It is it's getting advertised in the manga, but it's not canonical.
Yeah. See, I know for a fact that the Overlord movie coming out is canonical. We know that I have to check if Reincarnated as a Slime movie that just came out. I have to check if that's canonical. I don't know if that's canonical. We know for a fact that something I just watched. I was talking about it with somebody. I was talking about my buddy Slice a couple weeks ago. Another show that got a movie announcement. Reincarnated as a Villainess. There's a movie coming out. The movie coming out, that's canonical. It's adapting the source material. So we're in this era now where they're taking the time of shows, and sometimes they're going to drop a movie. Which, and by my definition, a movie, if it's an hour and a half in a movie, that's 4 episodes. That's enough to tell an arc, a small arc.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing that now. They did it with Demon Slayer, but then then the beauty is then they readapt it to TV and they give an extended version on TV. So they're doing that now. So I think Akame Got Killed would have been better if it had been adapted in this era, where they take their time and they don't lose anything.
Yeah.
Because if I got the ending, the ending that it's a manga, I would have been happy. I probably would give this a higher enjoyment level for me.
Akame Got Killed also wasn't super popular. Yeah, it got on Toonami, but outside of my buddy Silver, not a whole lot of people were talking about it. And I only watched this a handful of years ago because I was like, I'll finally watch it. I like it. I still like it. Yeah. But it never got super popular because every time you hear Akame,
I find I like it too.
Every time you hear the name, though, Akame Got Killed, the first thing that kind of comes to mind is Kill La Kill, which was coming out around the same time.
Kill La Kill is a masterpiece.
And now you can kind of figure out it kind of got pushed to the wayside, same amount of length, same sort of style with I get it.
Well, the
Natsumi's the protagonist, but like Akame Got Killed,
Akame, she got we mentioned this while you were in here. Akame gets sidelined so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she really does.
Nothing to do. She's there to be murder machine or to be comedic relief and eat meat.
Yeah. But
I mean, it's just I thought she was going to be our character, our protagonist, or at least who we're attached to, who our protagonist is attached to. But she really did. She wasn't even the first woman he meets. Leone is the first one he meets.
I mean, wouldn't you want to meet
I would.
Leone
too, but
first.
I mean,
yeah, Leone.
But my point is, and you guys are there with me, for the being a part of the title of the franchise of the IP. Until the very end, she gets nothing to do.
Yeah, she really does.
Yeah. So in the end, I'm glad you guys like it. And hell, plenty of people still like Full Metal Alchemist, not Brotherhood. Plenty of people still like that, even though it is in my opinion, a bastardization after the Fifth Laboratory arc. It's bastardization after that.
I know you basically have to watch. This is getting we're pretty much come to the end of the episode with what I'm about to say. But Full Metal Alchemist, I know you have to basically watch the beginning of that series up to a certain arc, and then go back
Fifth
and watch
Laboratory,
Full Metal.
and not even that. They even butcher Fifth Laboratory halfway through it after the fight. After a certain fight, they butcher it, and that's when everything goes off the rails in that moment, because characters that should be dead are alive, and events now go out of control in terms of how they deal with alchemist stones, or I'm sorry, philosopher's stones and alchemy.
I've seen the ending of Full Metal Alchemist.
Well,
and I've seen the movie.
Well, yeah. So you saw Shambhala, Conqueror of Shambhala, which gives it an ending, a better ending than the show did, but it's still not a very good ending.
Yeah, but ultimately, you just have to watch up to that point, and then you watch Brotherhood, and you get the
or just go watch Brotherhood, which has which has all of that except done correctly.
Well, no, there are certain characters that that just appear in Brotherhood, that if you watch Full Metal, that you get a better understanding. Like the suit of armor that's supposed to be the psycho murderer, you actually get to see him be the psycho murderer in Full Metal.
Yeah, but you don't. That's the adaptation of it. It's just they get this Full Metal. Brotherhood is the best.
Brotherhood is better, but Full Metal
FMB
helps
is
it
the real
out.
story. FMB is the real story. It's the source material. That's why
you kind of have to watch them both. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, I don't think you do.
You kind of do. You kind of do.
I actually agree with Jeremy on this one. We can like both.
I'm not saying you can't like both. I'm saying you don't need to watch both.
I'm going to have to politely but firmly disagree with you.
If you're first getting into Full Metal Alchemist, I don't think one needs to watch the first version anime. I don't think you need to. I think you are well enough watching FMB, which is the source material story. Now, listen, you guys know that's just how I work. I believe in source material, and that which adapts the source material better ranks higher for me, and therefore is the choice. And I'm always going to recommend that choice. I'm not going to recommend something that doesn't follow the source material. I'm a continuity whore. I'm a continuity.
I know you are, but also the beginning of Full Metal Alchemist does follow some of the continuity. It does.
And I told you
continuity.
And I told but then it gets off the rails, but it takes too long.
That's why you only go to that part, and then
you don't have to go to that part. You don't have to.
You end where it starts going crazy.
You don't have to. You can just watch the real thing. You just watch the real thing.
Don't mind me, kids. I'm just sitting here on the fence with my tub of popcorn, just enjoying the show.
We fight all the time now. By the way, I need some man meat.
Yeah, we are. We have reached the end of the show because we're not talking about Akame got killed anymore. That's that. In one of my shows, when we diverge from the topic drastically into something else, where we start arguing or talking about it or having basically nerding out over it, it means we're done. So we are done. Thank you guys for watching. It is Jeremy's choice to choose a theme tag. I guess it's going to go to me to choose our show for April. So as soon as Jeremy decides on that and lets me know, I will make a decision. Hopefully by the end of next week, I will let everybody know, and we can all get ready for our April 1, which as of right now, I like keeping it in week 4. So I'm thinking the 26th.
26. Let me
26th.
Look.
I'm thinking the 26th.
I think that will work.
Yeah.
As long as it's a Wednesday, I'm down.
Yeah. So for now, the shows remain. We're keeping this on Wednesday for now. We're not moving it for the time being. But there we go. We're done. So thank you, Jeremy, and man for being here. Chat again. We love having you here. We know we don't interact with you much on this show because it's a discussion show. It's not so much a chat interaction show. Unless the super chat shows up, we remain locked into the conversation, and so you get you don't get the full conversation. We don't break and get derailed too much. But in the end, it seems the boys here will recommend you watch Akame ga Kill. I say go ahead and watch it, but I'm going to say go read the manga. I'm going to say in this case probably go read the manga to get everything that I feel was missing from this. I think the manga looks like a very winning story as compared to the anime. And
I mean, before we leave, I have the similar position when it comes to Chainsaw Man. People like Chainsaw Man's anime. I see the manga's 10 times better.
Mm-hmm.
So,
just like Claymore was better, the manga Claymore was better. When we So that anyway, all right, guys. Thanks everybody for watching. As I remember to turn on studio here, like I always forget. As I set everything up, we're gonna head out here. Thank you again. As I hiccup my way through the ending here. Thank you for watching. Remember, if you had a good time, please hit that like button. If you're watching on the replay, I'll leave this up for the rest of the night. Replay will be up in the morning. Until then, everybody, take it easy and have a good rest of your day or evening, wherever you may be. Good night, everybody. Okay. All right, we are clear.